Kim 107. Here we are still in chapter 4 on climate change. We're continuing on to look at the consequences of humans putting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And one is sea level rising. So we already talked about thermal expansion, how the molecules move faster when they heat up and they need more space because they're moving faster. So thermal expansion is causing sea level to go up, and then the melting ice is causing sea level to go up. So Greenland is about what would cause sea level to go up by 25 feet. Wow, that's a lot. If Antarctica melts, it would go up 250 feet. So Greenland is kind of more of a when it's going to melt. Antarctica, there's still time to save that. So we, again, need to change our ways so we don't have all these terrible consequences of climate change. So this is a map showing how much of Greenland melted during one summer of 1979 compared to a summer of 2007. So we get more melting each year and less snow coming down. So it's slowly melting away. So that's how much melted in just 1 year. So same time of year, but 1 year apart, the depth of the ice sheet is down by about 10 feet. So that's pretty scary. So that's a lot of melt in just 1 year. So this is what the Atlantic Ocean will look like if Greenland melts. So everything that's in red would become underwater. So if you look at Florida, Disneyland is now on the beach. So we lose all of South Florida. Louisiana is mostly gone. So New Orleans is definitely gone. The Texas coast is gone. A little bit of Alabama, Georgia, all the coast is gone. The eastern seaboard is gone. New Jersey's gone. Manhattan is gone. So it's going to reshape all the Caribbean islands. If you look at that, Cuba and Haiti and the Dominican Republic, much smaller islands, and a lot of the Caribbean is just gone. It's all underwater. So pretty scary. And if Antarctica melts, it's not showing you in red, but it's showing black. So you can see the black will be underwater. So Florida's gone. And the ocean is creeping up into Arkansas and Mississippi area. So the world is pretty changed if Antarctica melts. So other consequences of humans releasing so many greenhouse gases out into the world causing climate change. If you talk to a biologist, they all know we're living during an extinction period. We have the fastest extinction rate of life on Earth right now in 65 million years. So it's 1,000 times the normal rate. So we are living during an extinction period, which is really sad. We have increased disease, asthma, malaria, West Nile, dengue fever, all spreading farther than before. There's increased poverty and hunger because of these extreme weather events, such as droughts, flooding, heat wave storms, and don't forget forest fires. Forest fires, I don't have it on this slide, but that's a consequence that we're seeing in California and Arizona in particular is forest fires. So extreme weather events, terrible weather events because of climate change. The European heat wave of 2003 killed 40,000 people. It made the news here. I remember this. So animals are slowly moving their habitat faster than ever before. So they're moving either up mountains or farther north to get to cooler areas. Unfortunately, the plants they eat don't move. So this becomes a problem as animals search for food and they can't find any, thus contributing to the extinction of species. So again, we're living in a mass extinction period with frogs and salamanders particularly being hit hard. Habitat loss as the polar bear doesn't have its ice up north to hunt on anymore. So polar bears are literally swimming and not finding ice and drowning, and they're not finding ice to hunt seals because the ice is melted, and they're starving to death. We see terrible videos of very skinny polar bears, and it's terribly sad. Coral is bleaching. This is something we'll talk about more in chapter 6. As the ocean gets warmer and more CO2 goes into the ocean, it's getting more acidic and we're bleaching out the corals, meaning they're dying. So healthy coral has a bunch of different colors and it supports a lot of fish. Here's bleached out coral. It turns white or gray, and there's not as many fish anymore. So if you live in an area where coral bleaching is going on and you're a fisherman, you've lost your job. So this is a big deal. Also, tourism. People aren't going to come snorkel and scuba dive to look at dead coral and no fish. So again, if you live in an area where coral bleaching is going on, the tourism industry has tanked, which means the hotels, the restaurants, the tour guides, the people who help with snorkeling, the people who work on the beach, it's all going away. So ruining industry. This is an interesting map. This is 2000, so it's already has some damage to it. The blue areas are where coral can grow well. The yellow is adequate. The orange is really tough, and the red, the darker orange, is coral can't really grow here. So this is 2000, which is already down from what it was in 1950. But let's look at 2050. Wow, we've lost the blue and the yellow completely. So in other words, most of our coral reefs are going to be dead in your lifetime if we don't do something. And again, all the people that live off of that tourism, fishing, all those jobs are gone. So that people are going to have to move and find other work. So this is a big problem. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in chapter 6. So there is one species that likes the warmer ocean, and that's the giant jellyfish. They used to be rare, but now they're more common. Look how big that sucker is. Here's another picture showing a couple of them. Again, these used to be very rare, but they actually enjoy the warmer, more acidic water. Too bad we don't eat them. So the carbon cycle. So this is important. Carbon moves around our system and has a natural flow. So naturally, animals breathe in oxygen and exhale CO2. So naturally, CO2 goes into the atmosphere, but plants take in CO2 and convert it back to oxygen. So we have a cycle of respiration, right, between mammals and plants. Now, the ocean also absorbs CO2, and it can get buried in sediment, which can then grow into plants or can be uprooted and moved back to where we can dig it up. Like, oceans were in different places millions of years ago. And trees contain carbon. And so trees grow, and then we burn trees and release the carbon. And there's just this natural give and take of the carbon cycle. But with our increase in these coal power plants and cars that run on gasoline and the meat industry, we're putting way more CO2 into the atmosphere than the trees can take out. Well, for one, we're cutting down all the trees in the forest, aren't we? We're cutting down trees, which is really stupid. So our carbon cycle is messed up. So we've really messed up our carbon cycle, and it's not a natural cycle anymore. So you should remember the carbon cycle. So what can you do about it? So I think this is a good place to stop, and we're going to come back and talk about things you can do to combat climate change. Have a good day.